Welcome to the Bears on Tap Offensive Line Film Room, bringing you all 22 views and breakdowns on the Chicago Bears offensive line. Presented by Quentin Q. Crisco and the one and only Ron Luce.
And we are back. We are back to talk some offensive line, some Chicago Bears offensive line, and it was not a pretty one, to put it lightly. And when you're starting, all backups except for maybe two guys, and by the end of the game, you're all backup except for one guy. You have your 11th best offensive lineman guy who started the season on the practice squad playing out there at left guard. Like, it's going to be ugly. I don't think it needed to be this ugly. Like, granted, as I said in our preview that we just wrapped up, Patriots were starting all backups on their offensive line. They didn't look this rough. So, like, there are deeper issues, and that's been a constant theme of this show this year. Is like, there are deeper issues here than the talent. There's no reason for it to be as bad as it's been. But what are your thoughts, Ron?
Q, I wish for every time that you said there's been issues that we both got paid like $1 million because we'd be multimillionaires. Just as you mentioned, it's frustrating. And again, you and I talked about it in the preview show. I highly encourage anybody that's tuning in with us here that maybe didn't tune into the preview show to go do so. You can check that out over at On Tap Sports' YouTube page. You can also check that out wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Go like and follow Bears on Tap. Hopefully Thomas Brown changes some of that. I think schematically in the run game, I think there's some very minor things they can fix that can make the run game more effective, even with lesser talent on the offensive line. But I was in person for this game, Q, and I'm buckled in and ready to relive it. So let's get after it.
You need that drink. So the first few plays here, these were right after Teven Jenkins left the game. So it's because they were actually running the ball fairly well before Teven went out. Right here, we got Doug Kramer. So for some reason, that doesn't seem to be coming through. Either way, I guess I'm doing it without, or actually, give me 1 second. I know why it's not coming through because I did the wrong screen share. I screened the window, not the entire screen, so it's not catching my pen come up.
It'd be that way sometimes. But like you were saying, right? It was the Larry Borom show. It was Doug Kramer at left guard. It was Shelton. It was Bates, and it was Pryor. It was Q. I made the joke. I went to the game with a trio of friends. I made the joke that it was us four and a random stranger playing offensive line for the Bears this Sunday.
Yeah, no, it really was. And one thing that was notable to me, like on this one, I look at Doug Kramer. The run's not going his way, but just the way 92 gets into him, bench presses him off and forces him backwards. That's not what you're looking for there. And then just discards of him. Like that was the first sign of like, okay, the run game might not work with these guys. And then as I'm looking towards the hole where it's going, I see Matt Pryor is not the same at tackle as a run blocker as at guard. He just has to play more cautiously because he's protecting an open end, even with Marcedes Lewis right there for him. He just can't generate any push. Marcedes Lewis can't generate much push. Cole Kmet's getting walked back a little, and just there's no hole.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it a lot this season on this show, on this film review, that I hate a lot of what the Bears have done so far this year in the run game, just schematically. I think the whole base blocking bullshit is nonsense. I get it. Your offensive lineman, but like get creative. You have the ability to get creative. Use double teams, work to the second level. Like you can let a guy go free. Like not every defensive end is going to disrupt the play from the backside. Not everybody's, the creme de la creme of DNs. This is just kind of feels like one of those plays, right? Coleman Shelton helps getting no movement for Ryan Bates, picks up the blitzing linebacker. You talk about Doug Kramer, right? He comes firing off. His head's on the wrong side. He just gets absolutely bench pressed. He's coming off here, and it looks like he's trying to reach that number 92's outside shoulder. If his head's on the inside, even if he gets bench pressed, at least he has an ability to readjust and try to get into him and just try to wash him. And again, create a big pile of shit. Sometimes a big pile of shit's the best thing you can do as an offensive lineman. This is the epitome of I hate the scheme. Nobody gets a push, as you mentioned. Matt Pryor looks like a different player playing tackle than he does playing guard. It's just kind of an absolute nightmare, to say the least.
And so moving on, this was the very next play. I believe they ran like 3 or 4 plays in a row here. And this one, another one where the first thing I know is I was keying in on Doug Kramer because I was like, with Teven out, how is this going to work? And again, you see him very similar, just getting bench pressed off, and makes me really question, can Doug Kramer play at this level the way that it kind of happened? The guy is just in control of him the whole time. And once again, down at the on if you're viewing it, your left-hand side, but the right side of the line, you're seeing Matt Pryor just not getting the job done as tackle. Like he's slow, and on the edge, you can't be slow. I mean, he makes a pile of shit in your terms, Ron, but like there's only so many places for DeAndre Swift to take it at that point.
Yeah, and I would honestly make the argument that Mercedes Lewis is the one that makes the pile of shit because he pushes the defender into Pryor on the ground. I mean, Matt Pryor here, you can see it. I can see the crown of his helmet. He's not looking. He's just throwing his body. There's no technique here. You're just praying that your big ass gets in front of the other guy's big ass. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what this is. I feel like that's going to be a lot of this. I don't know what any of this is, Q. And I didn't know what a lot of it was in live view either. Pryor just gets olayed. And I'll tell you what, if I was a defensive end and watching Pryor fire out on every single play and watching him dip his head, I'm doing the exact same thing 90 does. And that was my move. I only played DN or D tackle for 2 years in high school, my freshman and sophomore seasons. And my move was the swim move, baby, because when these guys are not technically sound and they fire out with their heads down, it's hand on the back, hand over the back, and coming through, and you have an opportunity to make a play. Mercedes Lewis is the one that creates the pile of shit. And then you have to appreciate the effort you get here from DeAndre Swift, but this isn't DeAndre Swift's fault. Yeah, and you can almost tell that the Patriots defense knew what was coming. Look at the front that they bring forward. Let's count, Q. Let's channel our inner Sesame Street here for a hot second.
Do we want to count the guy who's following Keenan into the frame?
Absolutely.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of the 11 defenders are within 5 yards of the ball.
There's number 11 circled.
10 defenders. As the count would say.
I didn't even think about that.
They know what's coming.
That is insanity to run into.
Yes.
And the fact that you motioned the 10th guy in.
Yeah.
To this.
And even then, you had a 9-man box. And even if you take the corners out of it, still an 8-man box. Why the hell are you running the football? Especially with no fullback, 2 tight ends who Cole Kmet's not a proper blocker, and it's not necessarily his fault. Mercedes Lewis is a shell of what he was as a blocker. And they know what's coming. Like Shane Waldron got so predictable that he got fired. That's more or less what happened
here. If Keenan stays on this cutoff, DeAndre Swift has one guy to make miss, and he's gone.
Sure.
Like watch Keenan bounce off this inside.
And even then,
Swift could have kept going outside there. I mean, he wouldn't have to cut inside to beat that guy.
But some of that might be conceptual, right? We don't know. It might be designed for Keenan to come down. And again, it's kind of the first level, first mentality. Still a great run play, but this is all DeAndre Swift. Like none of this has to do with the blocking scheme. Outside of, I will give credit where it's due. I think Keenan and Cole do a nice enough job on the edge to just kind of create chaos to allow DeAndre Swift to use his just football instincts to make a play.
Yeah. I guess Keenan was jumping inside for 21 to make sure 21 couldn't hop through the gap to make a tackle because he probably doesn't know where DeAndre is, and it's a split-second decision.
And I also think here, too, I don't think DeAndre, his hole is off of Cole Kmet and Mercedes Lewis. But because it swallows up, he has to bounce it outside.
Right.
And that's why he's able to just make a play. That's a good play by DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift, gold sticky star.
I was saying during the game, like it might have been after that play, I was like, man, I'm starting to love DeAndre Swift. And I know
I am
that
too.
he can be frustrating. Everyone's like, he gets too horizontal, but like, I'm seeing him make magic out of stuff like that. And I'm like, get as horizontal as you want, buddy. You are you're doing it.
There's a reason that he was an early second round pick as a running back. Like, this guy did this type of stuff at Georgia. He's a talented running back. He can run the ball. He can pass catch. He can do a lot of things. But when you have a lot of blocking like this nonsense, where's he supposed to go? And this is that
Larry
same thing.
Borom did something, it would probably help. But
absolutely, and this is that same thing that we were kind of talking about, Q, on a couple of the last few episodes of the show. Is like, what are you running? And like, how can't you properly double team somebody?
This is
Coleman Shelton
again, right?
Not even like giving in. It just, I don't know. It's kind of a mess, man. It's frustrating. It really is, because you sit here and you're like, you watch it in hindsight and you go, DeAndre Swift might have had some opportunities, but again, people I'm sure will be like, well, why didn't he bounce it backside? Because that's not what the play's designed to do.
Right.
He's going to where the point of attack is.
He heard a mouthful after the first few weeks of bouncing too much, because he was at that time, right?
Sure.
Like, he really was then. Now it's like, I feel like he's being just right with it a lot of the time.
I agree. And I'll tell you what, though, and this is part of the run game I hated. And you know what? I'm praying to whatever entity exists in this world that's the greater good, that Thomas Brown gets away from using receivers in the run game near the line of scrimmage, like in the box. I shouldn't say at the line of scrimmage, in the box. Keenan Allen being asked to come down and block a nickel guy inside on a run is stupid. And it's not Keenan Allen's fault. That's just a bad angle. The guy's in the hole. Like, that's where DeAndre Swift's running. It's just horrible schematically. Like, I don't know what Shane Waldron did in Seattle to actually make that offense look semi-competent, but whatever he brought to Chicago was hot garbage that should absolutely have been lit on fire and just punted out of the stadium.
I mean, you have DK Metcalf. Maybe you try that block, but like,
even with
different.
Even with DK Metcalf, though, like, because let's be real, we saw it a few plays ago. DJ Moore was also in the box blocking on a play as well. You're going to have Tyler Lockett come down and block somebody, or Jackson Smith and Jigba? No.
You know what it really feels like to me? He needs to use 13 personnel. His playbook requires 13 personnel. And when they got Keenan and Rome, they didn't know how to make it work other than just saying Keenan can be a tight end in the format. Like, he can do a tight end job. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. On run plays like this, like, I just, coming into the season, I wasn't expecting Keenan to play a lot of 12 personnel. I was figuring he would save his legs on these reps. And you're talking about him more in 11 personnel. And he's been out there in 12 as a guy who's being asked to block down in the box. And there was a number that came out today, a stat. It's like the Bears have the most condensed formations when they run the football in the NFL. And it's something like a 5-yard differential when they pass the ball. They get spread. And it's like that's just such a tell on what you're doing.
100%. And that's why the Patriots can load 9 guys in the box and ultimately, or 8 guys in the box. And then it becomes 10 because you motion in a receiver because they know what's coming.
Yeah. This is what, 9? Yeah. This is 9 or 8, but then the safety's right over the top there. Like,
yeah, safety. I wouldn't call him in the box in this play, but even then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with Keenan's man motioning inside. So it's still a 9-man box that you're more or less working with. Maybe we'll call it 8 because the corner kind of stays outside for Kane. But still, an 8-man box, that's the kind of situation where if you're smart and you're Shane Waldron, that's play action right there. And maybe it's a 2-man route. And maybe that's all it is. But maybe you have an opportunity to open something up. It felt like everything that Shane Waldron did okay with in Seattle turned to absolute horseshit in Chicago. And there's a reason that he's no longer the OC, and good for it, because I hope Thomas Brown is watching this right now. What's up, T Brown? How you doing, baby? Shout out. Like, if it's that easy to tell if they're running or throwing the football, play off of that. Play into the scouting report that teams have.
One aspect of this that I think needs to be talked about too at right about here in this play. You can see the backers, the safety, whatever that is, triggering downhill because they see what Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet are doing. They see this is a run. This is a run. They're not running a 2-man route concept. This is a run play. Because if you have all your linemen blocking, all your tight ends blocking, and 12 personnel, you have 2 routes. And they're going, well, we can cover 2 routes even if it is. Like, we can get downhill on this.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's what they do here. I mean, they do a good job getting downhill because, I mean, DeAndre Swift has nowhere to go with this football.
You're putting their eyes right where the ball is going.
Right.
With that, because they're watching the tight ends on this to diagnose it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Again, they're watching the tight ends, and then Keenan motioning inward is a tell. I don't think I've seen the Bears run probably more than 10 plays all season where the receiver motions inward toward the box, and then it becomes a pass. It's always a run. Like, it almost felt like because the Bears didn't have 3 tight ends, that Shane Waldron felt like he always had to get a receiver involved in order to properly block things.
Try to motion him to be on the line of scrimmage in a sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
and because of that
motion brings Keenan to where the third tight end would be in this play in the Seattle playbook, I imagine.
Exactly. And because of that, you effectively tell the defense what you're doing every single time that you do that.
All right. I think there might be one more run play here. Yeah, we don't have to get too into this one. This is just, I mean, this one was Doug Kramer just getting the life beat out of him, and I think Larry Borom might have lost his guy on the edge, and I don't remember what the right side of the line is doing here, but I just the big note on me for this one was Doug Kramer just getting 2 gapped here.
You know what I also hate about this play? Can we rewind it really quick?
Yeah.
Can I get really nerdy for like 2.5 seconds?
That's what we're here for.
DeAndre Swift, because he's lined up to Caleb Williams' right, the most efficient play, running backs are taught to run the hash. That's just how it's taught. So in this case, DeAndre Swift should be taking this ball and running exactly where he runs it, running the hash. Those are your hash marks. Exactly. So if you're coming across your quarterback, you run the hash mark. That should be your whole, probably 8 times out of 10. Run it for like 2.5, not even 2 seconds. Maybe run it for 3/4 of a second for me, Q, really quick.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Stop. If you're asking your running back to run the hash, why in the hell would you run it to the backside? Because that's what's happening here. Because you have one-on-one with your left guard, you have one-on-one with your left tackle. You're doubling the, in this case, backside one tech to the backside or to the play side backer, which already feels messed up. Yep, those 2 to 16. And then you got Cole Kmet slamming down on 95. My guess is they're working the stack with 48.
Yeah.
You know how I would run this play? With DeAndre Swift on the other side of Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it would make more sense to come down. I mean, this hash is all the way over here, but I would think it makes more sense to come down in between the double teams or just outside of it where there's all this space right here. That was a terrible drawing, but
No. But you're 100% correct. Because then in that case, that's when you get Mercedes Lewis on 33. And then maybe, just maybe, you got a chance. Because guess what? It's an easier block for Cole Kmet because he can peel off, and 48's going to flow if the play's going the other way. And he can just get across his face and get a piece of him. And in this case, what I would want to do is I would want to have Coleman Shelton coming, but then I want to have Coleman Shelton trying to overtake and allowing Ryan Bates to work up to 16. Because realistically, even if you just get a little piece of 16, if that play's coming the other way, it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
But
the leverage here just doesn't make sense.
The schematics of the play is stupid. It's just dumb. It doesn't make sense. It almost feels like Shane Waldron was trying to like rewrite the concepts of football.
Like you're on this, Shelton needs to blow 16 out of the water.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all we had for the run blocking. At this point, we get into the pass blocking, which this cut up is just, it's all every sack, every QB hit So it's fun stuff, guys. This one was early in the game. This was the first sack of the game. And Matt Pryor just takes a tough L here. I mean, it's 3.5 seconds into the snap. I believe on this one that it was a 3-man route concept. Essentially, there might have been 4, but Cole Kmet was really late to release into his check down on the right side. And on the left side, there was a check down and there was a deep route, and then there was Keenan that we see over the middle there. It was covered up. I mean, maybe he could have hit a check down. There wasn't much there. It was an example of not helping your quarterback when you have a blitz on. Patriots bring in 5 guys here, and just no quick options.
No. And that's the problem is, I mean, it's really not bad protection.
No. And I have a hard time knocking Matt Pryor on this one until, like, at this point, it's like his feet stop. He overcommits to the inside shoulder of the defender and just can't get enough of him. And 91 just flies. Like that part was rough. But like you're 3.5 seconds into the rep, I had a hard time being too critical.
I think that the offensive line did again. I think Larry Borom's technique is dog shit. Mm-hmm. I think Coleman Shelton couldn't block you or me on a play. Ryan Bates is late off the football, but guess what? At the end of the day, this is not a horrendous offensive line rep in terms of protection. The problem here, there's nowhere for Caleb to go with the fucking football. And I think that was honestly 99%, I think, of the sacks that occurred, because he was sacked, 9 times? The Patriots had 16 sacks coming into the game as a team. Mm-hmm. The Bears' offensive line kept them at bay. It's just that nothing was open downfield. Nothing was there. There's nothing that's a quick hitter that you know is going to be open for Caleb just to get a quick completion, just to move the football. Because guess what? If you start being able to complete quick passes, they have to respect that, and maybe they're only bringing 5 instead of 6. Then all of a sudden, Roschon can go help somebody, and maybe Caleb gets a cleaner pocket, and then you can set up the stuff downfield. I'm convinced that Shane Waldron got to Chicago, found one of the random ponds in one of the parks that had algae growing in it, and drank an obnoxious amount of it to acclimate himself in Chicago. And because
That's
of the
what
amount,
Chicagoans do.
And because of the amount of algae that was in the pond, it made him forget how the fuck football works. Because that's really how it feels watching this thing.
He hallucinated some genius plays that aren't so genius.
Yeah, exactly. That's literally what it feels like here, because I look at this and I go, that's really not horrendous protection, but where's the check down? Keenan's running a freaking inside and out route. And then I don't know what the hell's happening on the outside because we can't see it. But holy shit, man. You're not setting your quarterback up for success. Mm-mm. I don't know what this is.
What do you think of Teven's rep here?
Let's see it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. He gets beat across his face, but I'll tell you what, he has a good recovery.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes creating a pile of shit is the best thing you can do as an offensive lineman. And that's kind of what Tev did there. He throws his tackle into the mess in the middle with Bates and Shelton, and it keeps Caleb upright for 3.5 seconds.
And I asked because I caught this rep, a couple former offensive linemen breaking down this rep, and they mentioned something about that I thought was interesting. From their perspective, it was like, well, yeah, it's fine, but it's not ideal because you have a blitzer. If you have a blitzer behind him, you're just giving him all this space to run with it. You don't want to give that big a window to a blitzer, especially with a running back blocking it.
Sure. I was going to say, I mean, in a perfect case scenario, and again,
I just never thought of it that way from the, if there's a guy behind him, you're giving him a lot of space to work. I thought that was an interesting consideration.
Well, that's why I'm sure there's something involved here in the call that tells, what is his number 95 that Tev has on this play?
Yeah.
That tells him hey, if you can work inside because you have a blitzer coming off and
create
it's
that
window.
Space.
That's a thing. I played defensive line long enough. We had calls where it was slant left, slant right, cross an offensive lineman's face because something's coming behind you to open up. I think ideally for Tev, because of the hesitation, you would hope he would get hands on the guy quicker, and he doesn't. And that's why the guy's able to so easily come inside of him and ultimately, but like Roshan puts up a hell of a pass block.
Yeah.
For a running back. I mean, again, probably of anybody on the roster, Roshan's probably the best pass blocker on the roster.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think this is the kind of situation where you can be like, well, you know, I mean, it's not bad, right? Like he gets the job done. Tev gets the job done. Pryor gets the job done for 3.5 seconds. Like, again, but just there's nothing open downfield.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So moving into the next one here, let's see what we're working with. Patriots bring just base 4 guys, and Bates just gets crossed right off the snap. But if there's one thing that I noticed for Ryan Bates, I'm not actually sure if he did get crossed on this rep, but once the Patriots realized they could cross his face at will, they did it the rest of the game. Every pass rush opportunity, they had someone crossing his face, it felt like.
Yeah, and again, because he's not getting hands on. He doesn't have the longest arms in the world either.
No,
so
pretty
you know,
short
guys
arms.
are able to kind of bench press him and get around him, and that's largely what happened. And again, this is where I think there's, you know, you kind of understand why Ryan Bates wasn't the starting right guard. And, you know, this is going to sound crazy. I think what Ryan Poles loved most about Ryan Bates is he would make a really good center.
You think so?
I think he's a better center than he is a guard.
I do too. I do think he is a better center than guard. I didn't love his center tape at Buffalo, and a lot of it was for the sake. A lot of what we see in this rep, I just thought he had a hard time getting his hands on guys with the shorter arms, which you get with Shelton too. I think Shelton's a little better at getting his hands on guys though, but he's stronger than Shelton. He's bigger than Shelton. So that's where it kind of, where can you make it up? I had a hard time envisioning what the difference is at center from his guard tape, and I just didn't like his center tape that much, but it was one game.
Yeah, I think here, you know, like with Bates, you could make the argument at center that like, oh, well, yeah, maybe he's got the shorter arms and things like that, but he brings a little more power, and then you can get the help from the guards, because you're more often than not as a center getting help from guards.
Yeah.
Where when you're a guard, sometimes you're out on an island. It's not often, but it happens.
When you got Matt Pryor playing next to you, you kind of are, as this rep shows. Like, yeah. He doesn't have Matt Pryor's help because Pryor has to be so concerned about the outside shoulder.
Right. Well, not only the outside shoulder, but he also has to be worried just about the outside pass rusher here too. And again,
yeah,
it shouldn't be on Pryor in this situation to give a hand. He's got to worry about the outside rusher.
Right.
Bates is one-on-one. And Bates just purely gets beat. And sometimes if you're a shorter armed offensive guard, you got to be more aggressive. You have to get your hands on the guy first. You have to at least try to somewhat stalemate him at the line of scrimmage, because at least if you can stop some of that momentum, you give yourself a chance. If you just sit there and you set up and you wait for the guy to come to you, you're already lost. You've already lost the rep. And that's exactly what happens here with Bates is you can watch it as he sets up here, as you play the film here, Q. You're going to watch him, right? He's going to kick step, no hands. There's the hands. Almost a second into the rep. You're beat by that. Mm-hmm. Hands need to come sooner. And they just don't. And then Coleman Shelton's got to come back. Doug Kramer gets beat. Caleb's running for his life. And then everybody goes, but Caleb Williams sucks, Q. Just in case you didn't know, Tyson Bagent should be the starting quarterback of the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
But this shit is what he has to deal with.
One thing I want to touch on in the comments, we had Bear Truth 9 asked him, what do you think defenses saw with the offense are now adapting to give us more problems, if anything? In this game, they saw 3 undersized short arm centers playing center guard. Like Bates, Shelton, and Kramer are all smaller offensive linemen with short arms who you can take advantage of. So to me, that's in this game. That's what I saw. In the last 3 games, Dan Quinn, I think, really exposed some of the ways that you can take advantage of the Bears protection rules. I don't think they've adjusted. Ever since Washington put it on tape, the Cardinals added to it with more crazy stuff even. And we saw the Patriots lean into some of the same stuff with the way that they're playing with rules. Like this rep isn't a good example because they're only bringing 4 and it's just a light shade. You know, they're not actually doing anything other than beating guys straight up, which is why I said I think they saw the interior trio and said, "Oh, we can work with this." But the way that like the previous rep that they got Teven to follow hard inside, get the blitzer right behind him on the running back. I think stuff like that, the way that they're gaming stuff up, has really, the Bears have not adjusted their protections to much of anything from blitz fronts and from different pressure packages that they've seen.
Yeah, it feels again like that's part of what I think has made the offense so infuriating is they refuse to correct things that were clearly made, I guess, vulnerable, for lack of a better term, on tape. And you see it. You see it time and time again. Teams just say, okay, well, let's see what we can get here, and we'll do it. And that's exactly what happens. In this case, Kramer just gets beat across his face. The double team looks nice. Bates and Shelton are fine. Borom is, fine.
Just being Larry Borom's best trait is that he's wide as hell. Like,
yeah, he's just
flat
a
out.
Dude.
His best trait is he's just wide. And he does show a variety of pass sets that too, but like he's not that effective once he gets his hands on you.
And Pryor gets help from Everett here, which we love to see, but I mean Kramer just gets flat out beat. And again, if you look, Q, it ain't gonna fucking matter anyway because nobody's open. Yeah. That's what made this game so frustrating. Like, yes, the offensive line was in shambles, but you know how you fix having a largely backup offensive line? You throw the ball quickly. What did the Patriots do? They threw the ball quickly. They ran the football. The Bears didn't do that.
Yeah.
Because Shane Waldron was sold that what he had was going to work. You know what I've learned, Q? You know what I've learned about NFL coaches? They all have an ego. They're all the smartest man in the room. At least in their heads, they are. And they think they always have the fucking answer. And they don't. They don't. Sometimes it's okay to be like, you know what? I was wrong. We should fix this. You know who does that? The best coaches in the game. Because they learn from their mistakes. Isn't it a weird concept, Q?
Yeah.
Like you tell your quarterbacks and your offensive line to learn from their mistakes. And then like you don't practice what you preach. It's kind of what happens here. Nobody's open. DJ Moore's running some crazy complex route that takes 5 seconds to develop.
Yeah, that's what I was just and Keenan's is weird. He's running into the leverage of the player and just faking, but then still going into the leverage like you would think. I mean, I guess he does get open eventually, but it's almost 5 seconds into the rep.
Right, and he gets open eventually, but when you have Doug Kramer getting beat so quickly across his face that like if I did something like that, I would get signed to an NFL contract. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense.
To Bears Truth's other statement, other networks suggesting that Caleb Williams' hesitation has been a major issue since it started. I do think there are reps where that is happening. Like, agreed. I think, and we talked about this some on our game preview. I think Matt Eberflus has started to burn into his head. Do not put the ball at risk, which I think happened to Justin Fields too. Mm-hmm. And I think we're seeing the fruit of that labor. I think we are seeing him second guess his instincts of when to throw what, because that might put the ball at risk. And we can't be doing that because Lord knows the way to win football games is play risk-free football. Like, it's maddening. But I mean, I do think there is some of that happening.
Well, and on top of that too, right? Like there was a play in this game where there was a rub route where Moore comes behind another receiver that he's lined up on the same side of the football and it needs to be a quick throw. But there's the risk that the corner could jump it. If you preach to never play risk-free football, you're never going to win games. And it makes Caleb hesitate. In fairness, I would hesitate too as a quarterback if I look downfield after 3 seconds and nobody's open. Like that's just as big of a part of it. Again, everybody wants to sit here. The media thinks they're so smart. Q, I'm gonna mark this timestamp here for you because this needs to be clipped and I'm gonna send it to everybody. The media thinks they're so fucking smart calling out individual players. There is no sport in football, or there's no sport in the world more than football that requires everybody on the team to do their job correctly. There's no sport more than football that requires that. And that's the case, right? Oh, well, the quarterback's holding on to the football too long. Thanks, so-and-so on ESPN that makes thousands of dollars. You're a real fucking genius. Well, guess what? Did you watch the film? Was anybody open downfield? Because guess what? Stop the film right there, Q. Who's he throwing the ball to 2.5 seconds into the play? Nobody. Nobody's open. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the offensive line does. It doesn't matter what Caleb does. If nobody's open, nobody's open. Especially when you're preached, don't turn the football over, but you have a yard of space to throw it into the window because nobody's open. It's maddening. It's absolutely maddening. I knew coming into the show with you this week, Q, that we were going to sit here and talk about this. This was a maddening week of football because nothing made sense.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got on this rep, you've got 6 on 6. One guy, and one of those is a running back. One guy loses, everybody loses, right? And to Bears Truth's question even more, what our defense is seeing that they're taking advantage of and adapting to. They have seen that the Bears are not giving easy answers to the blitz. And they're saying, we think we can win 6 on 6. We trust our guys against this O-line 6 on 6 because they haven't been able to figure it out. Or we trust them even more when we get a free runner and we're playing 7 on 6 or 6 on 5. And like, if they're not giving easy answers to the quarterback, why would we stop doing this?
Yeah.
Like that is the root of the Bears' issues with picking up blitzes in my mind.
You know what the craziest part about this is, Q? You know what defenses are doing? Taking risks. Isn't it weird that you can win in football by taking risks?
Massive risks, but they're taking massive risks in some, like Cardinals last week and the Patriots this week. They are daring you to beat their blitz.
Yes.
And we're just not doing it. And it's not for a lack of Caleb throwing it most of the time. It's for a lack of options to win.
Absolutely. And it doesn't help when Doug Kramer's rolling around like a roly-poly-oly on the ground. Yeah,
no, it doesn't at all. But like, look at this. Cole Kmet's he hasn't even broke yet.
No.
I mean, maybe DJ was supposed to be your quick hitter guy, and he gets held like a motherfucker here. But like, even that, it's an outbreaking route. Why can't we just have a quick in-cutting route to win? Because that's where the ball needs to come out. You don't have time to wait for the outbreak.
I'm convinced that Matt Eberflus is allergic to the middle of the field offensively in his mind. Allergic to it. Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next one. This one is one where he holds on to the ball for a decent amount. But again, from the routes we can see here.
Who's open?
Like, maybe, I mean, I don't even know that you can get an anticipation throw up to the top there to Rome by the time he's having to scramble.
No. You can't.
Because he's scrambling right here. I imagine Rome is just hitting his break right about here. So, like, the ball needs to be out right here. I mean, is he in a posture to throw? He's got Roschon Johnson and Larry Borom in his face? Like, there's no answer here. And so you're having to wait to 3 1/4 seconds before you can throw it.
Yeah, there's nothing here. There's nothing here for Caleb. The offensive line does an okay job holding up. Again, you're playing with, I'm going to consider Matt Pryor a backup. You're playing with 4 backups in Coleman Shelton.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you still have okay protection.
It's 5 on 7. Patriots are only bringing 5 guys. Bears have 7 in the protection.
Yeah. And again, and of course you have something that's super complex that takes 3 seconds to develop. I mean, look at this. Keenan's only breaking across the middle at 3 seconds. And he's not open because you have a guy sitting underneath. You have a guy sitting over the top. Rome, same thing. There's nothing for Caleb to do here besides eat the football. You want to be honest? Caleb Williams is hesitating on the football. You know how you protect the football? Not throwing it at all.
Yeah.
In theory, you're protecting the football.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's the age-old question of like, how do you beat the blitz? Do you put more guys in the protection, or do you give answers for quick throws?
I think it's a mix.
Right, but the Bears have consistently put more in the protection, which takes away options. And you're saying, okay, but we want to hit the stuff downfield. And defenses, they know this. They know that you want to do that. They know that you're going to add people to the protection, and they're taking advantage of it because when it's a win-win for the defense when you're adding the protection this often, because they're saying, okay, we can bluff you into it, and then we can really blanket your routes, right? We can bluff it like we're bringing 6, 7, 8. We're only bringing 5. We're gonna blanket your routes.
God,
and you're gonna have nowhere to go with this football. And we think we might be able to win 5 on 7 because we got Larry Borom at left tackle, and he's gonna give us a free run at Roschon Johnson's chest.
Yeah, Larry Borom on this play makes my stomach. I can feel the acid reflux coming back up my esophagus right now. Like the kick, he oversets the living shit out of this guy. He opens his hips immediately. No punch. Just he comes running back. He's tripped up over himself.
And you can't knock Roschon on this rep.
No,
That's
you know
big
what?
Man barreling into his chest. Roschon's doing everything he possibly can.
Q, let me tell you what. You know who the best pass blocker has been in this video segment you've given us? Roschon Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
He's been the best pass blocker.
Okay, you got Komet leaking out. I didn't notice that at first. So, in theory, you could layer a anticipation pass here to Komet, but like it's still.
But he's not even looking at you.
You got 99 right there. Yeah, and he needs to be ready. Like that's why I said anticipation. It's
sure,
like,
but
will he even be aware of it? And yeah, he's not turning till there. So
yeah, and here's why this is bad schematically. Where is the ball snapped from?
Let's see, left hash, I think.
Left hash at whatever yard line there is. Let me do some quick math here. 15, 45, 40, 30 yard line, give or take.
Yeah.
Or we'll call it the 33 yard line. Cole Kmet's running to the 42. If you are a leak out guy at the end, that route can't be more than 3 yards. Like he needs to turn around right there. If you're the check down, it's got to be immediate. Then that Caleb's able to get rid of the football. Let your playmakers make the
right
play.
Into the linebacker. Like even if Caleb did float one up there, that's a pick six. The linebacker has that because the linebacker has eyes on it the whole way. It needs to be a lollipop over the line. So like you're just gifting them the football at that point.
Like if Cole Kmet is truly the check down guy for Caleb, it's got to be he's leaking out and he's just finding the open space.
Mm-hmm.
And all Caleb's got to do is throw it in his vicinity. He's catching it, and he's got to make a play against the linebacker. Because 16 is not a big dude. Like, that's a guy that Cole Kmet can one-on-one beat, just as he did in the Jacksonville game, right? Yeah. With the big stiff arm. Like, that's the kind of guy he can beat one-on-one. But when you have him running a 9-yard route as the leak-out guy, which is already delayed, it's just it's literally maddening nonsense, Q. It's literally maddening nonsense. Like, I'm so happy Shane Waldron's no longer in that building because none of this shit makes sense. Like,
it really,
like conceptually in football, none of it makes sense.
Something's utterly missing. So this one, we got 48 coming up on a well-timed blitz up on Roschon. We got 2 other guys blitzing from the outside too, where they bring in 6 here. I think it's 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, yeah. They show 7, but they bring 6. Which, again, maybe this is, Caleb doesn't call the correct protection because, he doesn't have a back here and maybe he needs to shift Borom. But again, like, when you're doing dumb shit like they were, teams can just bring a bunch of garbage and, force guys to bring. Like, it's just it's a load of crap, man.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard to sit here and even like I can't even get mad at Caleb. I can't even get mad at the offensive line because we don't know what Waldron was asking them to do, what the protection is here, because that's part of the game plan call, right? Like, is the protection. Ideally, in this case, you probably want your line to wash down and then Roschon picks up the last guy. You don't have that going either.
So how would you want this to be schemed up? Because in my mind, I mean, I guess 24 is a corner. You're not necessarily you want to get the big first. So
sure, but you 24 is coming. 15 is not showing that he's coming. He's got the deeper route to the quarterback. So in this instance, again, this is where I would hope Caleb can just reverse the protection no matter what's called. The way I'd want to scheme it up, if you stop it here, Matt Pryor is taking 99. You're locked. You are the lock side. And then it's just shift down. Bates needs to try to come and overtake that tackle. Coleman Shelton's just got to get a piece of 48. Kramer's got to get 91. And then I would just have it be a two-man game with Roshan and Borom. Of Borom, you pick up whoever comes near you and tries to cross your face. If that's 33, great. And then Roshan's taking the last remaining rusher.
Yeah. Okay.
Which in this place, it looks like Roshan's responsible for 48, which feels
that's
ridiculous.
The way it works out. That he gets 48. He gets inside, tries to get inside him, ends up passing him off to Borom, and then takes 33 when he comes back inside, and 24 has the free run.
Yeah, Roshan Johnson's the best pass blocker on the Bears this week.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they executed this wrong for what it's worth. It looks to me like Borom gets 91 gets passed to Borom, and 33 his guy was 33 in my mind. Kramer takes 33 here in the pass.
Yeah, I mean, schematically, based on how it looks, they run it correctly.
Yeah.
But it's just schematically incorrect. So whether that's Caleb needing to flip something at the line, or again, Shane Waldron is on whatever the drug that Aaron Rodgers takes, ayahuasca or whatever, and is just dreaming up stupid protections, because that's what it feels like. Protection rule rise would never run it.
No, I mean, the more I'm thinking about this doesn't make sense unless you're going to give Cole Kmet a free release to the middle of the field, because
and in that instance, if 15 comes, Cole Kmet's your hot rate immediately.
Yeah. This feels like the wrong protection was called on someone, because that protection doesn't add up to be running it this way.
No. Horrendous. I remember that play, Q. I think I was in that end zone. I booed after that play, as a matter of fact.
Oh, this is the
my God.
This is the play that got Shane Waldron fired.
1,000%.
And I saw an interesting take on this one, that it was, again, two former NFL offensive linemen speculating that maybe Caleb called the protection to the left and the route concept to the right, and it should have been both to the same side, because the way it happened doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Fair.
And if it was flipped, if the route concepts were coming the other way, it would make sense.
And I think this is an instance, though, where remember when there was all the discussions about Waldron in the offseason, and it was like, oh, he can work with young and veteran quarterbacks. In fairness, when he was in LA, he had no business calling the offense with Goff. So we really don't know if he can work with a young quarterback. Geno Smith was around the NFL for 10 years when he got to Seattle. Russell Wilson, same thing. He had veteran quarterbacks that could call this the way that he wanted it to be called. Expecting a rookie quarterback, when you've already had a shit day to this point, to get all this nonsense correct, to me, that's a failure in itself.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing that the two former linemen did say is, you look at Bates and Pryor here, based on what they understood this play to be. I forget what they referred to it as, but
sprint out left.
It was a terminology that I didn't recognize, which doesn't mean a lot, but it was just it was like WA9 or something is what they called it. It was something like that. I don't remember exactly what, but it was, so those guys, they get 1, 2, 3 steps.
You got to be on
turn
3 steps.
Turn.
Yep.
And cut off.
Yep.
And that is not at all what happens here. And that allows, 33 would have had the free run anyway, I guess, but at least you're giving him a path theoretically to run up the middle of the field if you do that, right? 33 is coming out. He can just say, okay, I'm going this way. But without that, you have he has no escape route whatsoever.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Yeah, and Pryor and Bates and Borom are all just looking around at that point.
Well, and that's part of why I buy into their theory of this play might have been called backwards on one, either the protection or the routes, because they all look confused. They all look like this isn't what's supposed to be happening.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And again, it just I'm all for, if you have a veteran quarterback, having weird, complicated shit for your guy to call. And I think largely over the course of the season, Caleb has done an okay job handling a lot of that responsibility. But it, again, like you said, it feels like the Bears have just regressed offensively after the bye because they're so worried about not turning the football over that why turn the football over, Q, when you can just have Torrey Taylor punt it away every single fucking drive? Because that's what happened on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because of nonsense like this, where nothing makes sense. Nobody's blocking anybody. Matt Pryor doesn't touch a soul. Ryan Bates barely touches 44.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a
I mean,
mess.
literally, that's what's so bizarre is it starts to look like a screen, but there's no one you're screening for. Like, it's just that one is, there was a lot wrong with that play. So, one place or another. Give you the nice tease right there. So let's see what happened on this one. How'd they get that free runner in? It was 44, I believe.
Yeah, 44 crosses the
And
face.
they're gaming this stuff up.
Oh, yeah. But again, teams know they can get weird with shit because Shane Waldron's never going to adjust anything.
Yeah. No, I mean, what is that? 3 downs. They're bringing 5. Yeah, 5-on-5 in the block. One guy just ends up flat out free.
Yeah, and honestly, good on Caleb standing in there and trying to deliver a throw.
Yeah. So, looking at this, I'm thinking you're going bam, 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 bam.
Can't see.
Bam.
Can't see your bam, 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 and bam.
Bam, bam, bam.
There we go.
Bam, bam. Like it
Yeah,
seems like a pretty
theory,
straightforward protection. If 48 comes,
Swift
wherever he might come, Swift might grab him. But otherwise, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward.
And even, yeah, I was going to say, if you have the back on the right side, it's the back is responsible for the play side linebacker, or the back, we'll call it the running back side linebacker. And then everybody else is just man on man, and you sift it out as you need to, and you talk and you communicate, because that's what offensive line is supposed to be. I don't know what this nonsense is, because
and this is where I don't think Kramer communicated anything, and then I forgot the nickel isn't in the protection plan. Technically, the nickel should be a free runner here, I think, but since the play
should be,
I think the nickel's supposed to be the free runner here. Like
but again, this is also an instance
need to have a free runner, but they gamed it up well enough that you're going to get one
because they know what the protection is.
Yeah,
because there's enough on film where if the left tackle is supposed to slide out to the last man on the line of scrimmage, you can bring a crossing linebacker and create shit, and that's what they do here. Because Shane Waldron never changed anything.
Yeah.
And you have an entirely backup group in there as well.
The free runner would buy you. I mean, maybe Caleb avoids the big hit. Like, that's the difference between the free runner versus 44. Like, if Borom picks up 44, 29 is just maybe a split second later, and that keeps you from taking that.
Yeah, but a good play by Caleb still. At the end of the day,
yeah.
You hold in there, you throw it to Rome. Rome gets a completion. Things look good, at least for 2 seconds.
Oh my God. This is it. This is it. This is the one I wanted to make sure we talked about. Now we know it, probably it's getting thrown out of the playbook, or not thrown out, but like used much less. Shane Waldron will not let this double fake screen go.
No, he constantly
won't.
used it.
Like they're setting it up. They have Cole Kmet running up the seam.
The worst possible thing for the Bears was that Cole Kmet pass working
screen over
against
here.
Jackson.
Cole Kmet running up the seam. Like that's what they're setting up, I think. I mean, I only looked at end zone view, but that's what I'm seeing.
Every team's seen it work once, and they'll never let it work again.
Yeah.
And that's what happens here.
You used your bullet.
Yeah.
Like
You got to be
set it up a
calculated
lot
with that
more
shit.
to
Right.
get it again. And
Awful.
like this one, like Kramer, I think he needs to get more of his guy. I think that he's letting the guy get through too quickly. Again, that's short arms.
Yes.
He's not able to. I mean, I'm sure if he gave more of a concerted effort to it, he'd be able to, but he also has to worry about getting out for the block. And that's really what kills this play. I mean, you got 33 coming in backside. I wonder if Swift's supposed to get a chip there. He doesn't, but I mean, really,
No, because I
98
think he
kills it
needs
in
to
my mind.
sell. I think he needs to sell fake on the backside.
Yeah.
The problem here is like, yeah, Kramer needs to get out for his guy, but as an offensive lineman, if you don't take care of the first guys, it doesn't matter if you get to your second guy because you're never gonna get to the second guy because the play will be dead.
Well,
you have to take care of the first level first.
91 knows this is a screen right here.
Yeah, because
Right
Borom doesn't touch him.
Borom's not touching me. Swift is running the other way. It's not a run. I need to bail. This is a screen.
Yep.
This is a screen. I need to bail. Bears guys just got to start hitting people, I think, on screen. Like they need
do.
to put more hands on you.
No, they absolutely do.
These guys just know.
It's not even these guys just know. That's what you're taught, Q. So as a defensive lineman, as a former defensive lineman myself, you're taught if an offensive lineman goes past you and you're not touched, if there's not a trap coming, it's a screen. You reverse field and you get back. That's exactly how you're taught. This is just coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get hands on guys because it at least gives the illusion that they're being blocked. If a guy gets a free rush, he's immediately suspecting something fishy, and that's what happens here with 91. He retreats field. He's right at the screen, and then Caleb has to throw it into the dirt because it's not there.
I'm either about to get ear hold or to screen, one of the two. Like
exactly. It's one of the two. You're either going to get really fucked up or it's a screen pass. It's one of the two.
Love a good nut buster play. Anyways, that was always the funnest block to that I saw in football. Yeah. It was just like throughout high school, it was like if you could get him on a crack block, it was just like beautiful. Anyways, let's see. We're our last few here. Oh, yikes. I didn't even see where that guy came. That was Bates.
Yeah, Bates got beat again.
He's not good. If you can find his edges, he cannot sustain. Like he can't sustain. His feet just get stuck in mud. I feel like that's like he lets him get across 99, get across his face, get to the edge, and just.
What did Ryan Poles give up for Ryan Bates again?
5th, maybe.
Okay.
I think it was a 5th.
Ooh.
I mean, this is right off IR, but I mean,
but again,
I saw a lot. No, he's not. I saw a lot more from him in this game than I did in week 1, but I also saw a lot more bad. Like in week 1, it was like he didn't lose a lot, but he also didn't win. In this, he won reps, but he lost reps too, big time. So, like,
definitely,
I don't know what to expect from him going forward. It was funny. Have you ever watched the? I think it's Caleb Presley, like the Sunday Conversation, like that he does. It's a Barstool like segment.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the one with Josh Allen the other day, and he asked him, if you had to choose one offensive lineman that you wouldn't care if you lost, who would it be? And he said Ryan Bates.
Hilarious.
It was just like I'm sure it was a joke and like they're like buddies, but like it was like, oh, I don't know if I like that.
I don't know if that's a joke. That's the problem. I don't know if that's a joke. I really don't.
I liked this rep from Borom though.
I mean, literally all the other 4 offensive linemen.
I hate how
with this rep.
I hate how perpendicular his pads get to the line of scrimmage, but like that's how he plays.
That's how every tackle in the NFL plays, and Q, it drives me nuts as well, but it's effective.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the next one. See what we got going on here. Oh boy. 7-5. Larry Borom. We sing your phrases. Get this the very next one.
Who did we cut because of Larry Borom coming back? Kari Blasingame? I'd almost rather have Kari Blasingame on this roster right now than Larry Borom.
After seeing Jake Curran, I can't agree with that statement, but
Touche. Touche.
Oh, that is just
Heinous.
I almost think he just doesn't think 4-8's coming until it's too late. Like he's looking at 24 almost. It looks like he's looking past 4-8.
But you know what? You know how you avoid that cue?
How?
You keep your shoulders square to the line of scrimmage and not turn 90 degrees. Again, my biggest pet peeve with 90% of the offensive linemen in the NFL. Everybody loves to turn their shoulders. Unless you're a freak athlete, guess what you can't do? Reverse your shoulders and get back and make a block. And that's exactly what happens here with Larry Borom. Can't get back in time. Linebackers got your leverage, comes underneath you. You're shit out of luck. And you got Caleb Williams running for his fucking life because you are more worried about a D tackle going away or a D end who's clearly inside of you, running away from you.
Yeah. Well, this is a pseudo stunt, right? Like the protection looks like based on their eyes, they are doing full slide left. And that's Doug Kramer's guy.
Yes.
And 48 ends up looping around. It's a pseudo stunt it's a blitz stunt.
Right. And if you're full slide left,
or slide
Larry
right,
Borom needs to know, or slide right and slide left on the screen, but slide right. If you're Larry Borom, you need to know if that linebacker comes back, he's your guy because Roshan has the last man on line of scrimmage. Everybody else blocks this really nicely.
Yeah.
But Larry Borom gets beat worse.
Ty just gets Caleb too, right?
Yeah.
Like that is not a friendly hit.
No, Larry Borom gets beat worse than the whack-a-moles in the whack-a-mole game on this play.
Yeah.
Ugly.
I think this is the last one we got. And it's Bates again getting across the face. Like I said, once they realized they could cross his face, they did it pretty much the rest of the passing, like clear passing downs.
Bates gets beats across his face. Larry Borom gets walked back like a tap dancer on this play. Just ugly. Absolutely ugly. Watch this. Whee! Let's go for a ride.
Yeah.
If Bates didn't get beat, Borom was going to get beat.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, one of the issues with this O-line combination is Coleman Shelton was helping Doug Kramer a lot. And that's when that's happening, that's not a good place to be when you're asking Coleman Shelton to help people.
No, it's really not. Oh.
All right.
I pray. What was Darnell Wright's and Braxton Jones's injuries?
I think Darnell Wright's they were both potential to come back for this game, I thought. Maybe that was just Eberflus toying with the Patriots. I don't know. But, I mean, it seemed like there was a possibility they would play this week, and then they didn't.
Well, whatever their injuries are, if they need a piece of my anatomy, they can have it. Yeah. Because if we have to sit here next week and watch this shit again, I might just lose it all. Truly.
Yeah. Yeah.
MCL sprain. He can have my MCL.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I don't need it.
Yeah. If he needs another, he can have mine. Beautiful.
Awful, dude. This was one of the ugliest offensive line performances in recent memory. This was bad.
Yeah, and again, you expect it to be bad when you're starting this many backups, when you're starting the 11th offensive lineman on your roster, the 12th even, I think, because I mean, if we include Bill Murray, we're probably talking O-line 12 for Doug Kramer. I mean, there's no team in the NFL who has that, but most teams find ways to make it more survivable than this was, and that's the issue at hand here. It's not the talent. We know the talent's bad. Any team starting this many backups, the talent is this bad. It's how you manage that talent, how you manage ways to move the football despite that talent that is really my issue.
Agreed. Because like you said, you said it in the preview show that we just talked about earlier tonight, Q, that the Patriots had a largely backup offensive line as well.
Yeah.
And somehow they put together a game plan. They made it work. And guess who came out with a win at Soldier Field? It surely as fuck wasn't the Bears.
It was not. Well, Ron, what do you say we get out of here with a sorrowful bear down?
Not even a bear down. Play better fucking football next week because I can't do this 2 weeks in a row, but Bear down, Q.
You heard the man. Play better fucking football and bear down.